All right, let's watch some more cardistry, huh? Gonna go through this account. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Zuhild or something. I don't know. Sorry for saying your name wrong. I try to get the name out. Maybe I'll stop trying to pronounce names. Okay. But we're going to do what we always do. We're going to go down to the bottom of the feed here and work our way back up. Along the way, we're going to try to decide whether we're going to give this fella a follow or not. And that's what we'll be thinking about as we go through these. What else? What else? I guess nothing. Let's just watch some cardistry. And we'll start down here. Let's see what's up. All right, here, actually, I'll do this. I'm trying to get into a routine. Looking at the thumbnails, this, of course, looks very interesting. Very curious what's going on with this packet. It looks nice here. And like an inflated deck thing. So I'm curious about what this is going to be about. This motion blur gives me hope that there's a lot of movement and action over here. Same with this one. Interesting structure here. Maybe something's dropping. So some of these thumbnails look nice. And I'm looking forward to watching some cardistry. Okay, now we play. All right. So a lot of floating in this cut. And what floating is, floating refers to the hands actually kind of bouncing around. And floating's not always wrong, but when it doesn't look good, typically what's happening is that motion is trying to be added into the cut that's not there mechanically. Now, a little bit of floating with some intention can help really drive home the point of a move or really do what people hope it does, which is like give more motion. That can be done, but in my opinion, it has to be subtle. So in this move, there's a lot of that going on. You can see even the body is swaying, which a lot of cardists do. Kind of hard to keep a quiet body. For me, a video, or even if you're doing cardistry for a person, it really helps for the body to stay completely still so that the only motion that a person is focusing on is the cut itself rather than a general motion of the setting. And I make that same complaint about cameras, like filming a move like this, like trying to like make it interesting by pretending like people watch cardistry going like this, you know? That's not how people watch cardistry. So you should design your moves to be watched still. And it's not uncommon for people to sway like that. Even in Magic, when people are doing a sleight and they're not comfortable, you'll see their body kind of shift to make themselves more comfortable about trying to get away with something. And cardists kind of do the same thing where you're kind of sway to make yourself feel like the cut is flowing better than it really is. But those are thoughts about floating. Let's think about the actual cut, the structure of everything. Cool transfer there in the middle. And we do get a theme, right? So I like this transfer here. That's about to happen. This packet's going to be kind of passed between the thumbs. Back to there. I guess it wasn't between the thumbs. But the packet gets like passed. So was it that one? Did I see it wrong or am I right? I pointed to the wrong packet, but we are dealing with the thumbs there. I really like that. And I like that extra extension that we get. So we get cool mechanic and then that little kickback. The way that extends back to give even more length to the cut. That's nice. Still in theme where our hands are kind of are being forced to move in a pattern back and forth like this. Not the floating, but the actual mechanics require that the hands are transferring front and back. And we're keeping that alive. And then here we're showing separation. So the body's kind of turning to kind of try to keep that same kind of directionality. Packet management, that's an easy thing to improve, right? Let's just get this clean. And there's two ways that you can deal with a difficult packets that want to spread and smear and stuff. There's two things you can do about it. One is focus on the actual grip that you're getting, like the mechanics of how you're pinching the packet. Really get that dialed in so that you know exactly how many cards need to be in that packet, and how many cards need to be in that packet, and how exactly where your fingers need to be at what angle to support the packet. So those are two things to think about. Closer keeps a kind of thing, you know, we kind of toss it. That's not the worst. But there's good motion here. There's good motion there. So the things I mentioned, I think would improve the cut. But looking past those things, there's good packet cutting going on. And I like the extension. All right. Is it the most interesting cut in the world? No. No, it's not. But it's a pretty good move for the first move on a feed. So if we continue to get better than this, there's going to be some really good stuff. Same move. Yeah, just clean up the packets. Just clean up the packets and don't move your body around. Now you kind of might feel like you have to, you know, but probably not. Since we have this again, let me just kind of watch it a few times here. Yeah, it's good. Tossing just a portion of that packet. Is it one, or did it already have the separation? Okay, so we're going to two. There's two pinches happening out here. Gotcha. I like that. So maybe something else that I would comment on that I think would strengthen the theme is that when we do that toss right there, when we go to here and we're about to toss this one, I wonder if it's not possible to keep this thumb still, if not touching it, very close to it. And the reason I say that is because that thumb was so necessary in previous mechanics. So when he tosses it, I understand the hand's going to turn up, but I wonder if we can't get everything tighter, leave that thumb down there, focus on that clip coming out, and get that toss a little bit tighter. Because here, obviously we're utilizing the thumb here, but on the other hand, we're also using it. And it's holding these two packets, so it's a big part of the way of how the structure is. All this, we're using it. We transfer, we're still using it. So here, if this felt like it stayed connected, I think would do huge service to this cut. And I don't really dislike any of the decisions. I think just the things I mentioned, some packet management, not swaying. Good retention of vision. Trying to decide whether I want that packet to go in the middle instead. Like, because we're doing the floating thing, and we're getting into a rhythm like this, I think that's why it's going to the top, because that motion needs time to happen. And by then, this is coming in a kind of late, so it has to go on top. I think if the things that I've mentioned were to be implemented and things were tighter and there was less movement in the body, that you'd probably be able to get that to pop into the middle. So from here, if this instantly started to tumble, like if this came over this thumb, if you pinch these together so that it dropped over top of this thumb and landed as this was coming around, I would like to see that. It's not my cut. I haven't, I'm not holding this cut. So maybe I'm wrong, but I think that would be nice. I think that would be helpful. All right, cool. One more watch. Let me watch it one more time. So I really like that we didn't get lazy at the very end of the cut, and we looked for something interesting, be it just a Z shape, but I like that we didn't just give up. All that first motion looks pretty cool. I think because of the length of it, the back packets feel a little dead, but that kind of criticism would require that the move be totally different. So I'm trying to keep my criticisms to like just actionable things for the future, rather than like, hey, your move's wrong, do it different. Like, because some criticism would just mean totally abandon the move and pretend like you never made it and make something else. That's how it could feel, And I don't want that to be the result of any of my comments. Like the motion that does happen there in the back, at that point, let's just go back. I'll just kind of point out when it's dead. This looks nice. This is good. Yeah. Like that motion that happens in the back, it's hidden because of this angle. It's hidden. Now, those packets are pretty tall, so even if I was standing up here, even if you're viewing it more top down, it's still going to be kind of hidden. But you get a little hint of it, and it looks like it's a cool mechanic back there. So I'm going to trust that from a different angle that doesn't look so still. Like it's there, but then we utilize it. And then I'll also comment. Let me pause it. You know what I mean? Like a triangle is so to making a triangle gives, how can you say this? Like this triangle is just so disconnected from all that nice motion that we were getting, that I don't think this really sells in this moment. Now, on top of that, I don't care for triangles in packet cuts. That might just be me like feeling like a triangle's elementary or something. So I don't want to like act like I'm above a triangle, making a triangle, because there are great moves that are based around a triangle, but those moves are about the triangle. This move's like Well, it does become about the triangle. For me, as an observer, the whole move becomes about making this triangle. So I think just narrative wise, it feels like all of this is really just a setup. All that great motion is really just a setup to show me this. And you could get to this much quicker and more simple. So in this instance, this triangle takes away from what was going on previously. I would have preferred that the cut just stay in that zone, stayed in that same region, rather than like solidifying a shape like this. And I think this. It's not just triangles. Triangles are just very common, but like any well-defined basic shape, I find is distracting. Unless the whole move is about that shape and interacting with that shape, maybe establishing the shape, transforming it, or establishing it and utilizing it in some way. You know, we see a lot of cardists like put a pack in here to let it tumble around or something. Those are just my thoughts on triangles. And then we do a little bit of floating there at the end. Where we're starting to, then we get our body out of the way. So not big criticisms there. And I'll mention packet management again. And in this instance, I don't think there's anything wrong with the mechanics. I think you just have to be willing to sit there for 2.5, 3 hours, filming the move over and over, letting your hands get very warm and comfortable and ready to execute something like that. And really just look for that magic take where there wasn't all this spread that happens on the triangle. Especially because it comes still. Because it becomes so still. If this was cleaner, I'm not too worried about this angle. I'm not so worried that this length of the pack isn't square. It's just this. Because this is enough separation where this is kind of like its own packet. And it shouldn't be there. We're not intending for it to be there. So let me go back. Maybe I can see why that one splits. I'm kind of curious. So this is going to roll. Nothing's happened yet. Okay. So like we've gone down, and because we're pushing that down, it's kind of beveling, and we're getting some slippage to create this whole thing. And so for me, it's just distracting. Okay. All right. Improvement. Boom to boom. Improvement. Very cool. Some good handling. Those are fun. Kind of blanked out for one of those cuts. Let's go back and see it. I do like this first thing, which I'm guessing is the second thing. Yeah. Like that motion, that's cool. I really like that. That gets really big. For 2 packets, it gets very big. And even in this shot, it looks nice, even though you don't see anything. Like all of that, very cool. Having everything justified to each other. So like this corner, this little arc that happens here, it's almost a straight line, but the hand is perfectly in line with it. So it really feels like those packets are still connected. And, not too much to say about that one. I like that little little toss of the packet in the left hand towards the end there. Very connected, very cool. All you need. That was nice. A little boring, just because it's, a little small. But this little toss that's happening, kind of bouncing in it's kind of like a knuckleball. When you're seeing all of this motion together, that little toss, I think he did it twice. That little toss kind of feels like there's something more complicated than there really was going on. It's kind of nice little, it's a good touch there. I do like that for a combo move. Okay. Just watch one more time. Maybe I got something to say. I don't want to leave anything out. This 2-packet thing is the winner. Like, so simple. It's simple, and there's only 2 packets, but it doesn't feel like it's super short. Even though, like if you were to count the seconds, it's pretty short. But the opener really works with this, and this really works for me. This really sells. Like, this packet's way over here, this packet's way down here, and it still feels very connected. In part because we're rebounding, it's coming back here, then forward again quickly. So that kind of helps it feel like it's connected. But even just visually, when it's still like this, it still kind of does that. And that's nice. Can't see down here, so I don't know if you're tricking me or not. I don't know how clean and square this packet is. But because I can't see that it's not square, it's not distracting me. So maybe we got away with something there. We'll watch this out. Is there a better way for me to watch these? Is it obnoxious that I keep pausing and having to go back and wait? I don't know. I don't want to download every video, so this might just be what it is. And a fun little thing there. Seen that kind of thing before. All right. One more time. So this is a very strong moment. So I think it's having that moment is really worthwhile. It's definitely the main action of the cut. Here, like, we've just turned so far away from the camera. And that may have been intentional in this case to, like, let us know what the relationship is back here. But I would venture to guess that we didn't need to do this. That just being in the front, not trying to, like, again, like, we're just swaying or, like, physically moving the move around, I don't think works. Maybe never. It might never really work. A little bit of it is okay, but, like, once the body gets involved, I think it's an easy fix. I think it's something like a very easy way to improve. And that's cool. Everything gets wrapped around to down here. There's some interest about like how this is being held. So that's cool. I'm talking about this packet down here. From this moment, and I respect this. I don't know if visually it's necessary, but I do respect that this packet in the back, he's gotten to here, and he's going to bring this packet back to a slight angle. Like he's going to pull this thumb back to get to here to mirror what's going to happen up here. So that's cool. I'm okay with that. To get to this, I'm okay. If I was making this cut and I did all this and I found this as a result of it, this little slide that happens, and that looks cool, having those packets come towards each other and meeting in the middle looks cool. If I had found that after making that cut, I would have decided to make that thing its own cut. I would have found a different opener to get that set up to deliver this moment, because it's a good moment. It's really worth showing. But I would have just made a different cut for it and found a different way of resolving the first half of it, because all of this is kind of its own thing. I think this is worth finishing within the same spirit. So that's what I would say. I would say these could be two separate cuts. Not saying that you need to do that. I'm saying that oftentimes when you're creating cardistry, you will find that you come across a great idea. And if you take a step back a little bit, you'll see that the ideas don't really go together perfectly. And that doesn't mean that part, any one of the parts is bad or ugly. It's just like the outfit doesn't work. Like, those are cool jeans, keep the jeans, but don't wear them with that shirt. I don't know. I don't care about fashion. That may not be a good example because I don't care about fashion. But you understand the point. As a unit, they're kind of disjointed. If they were separated and we found a different opener to do that closer, and we found a different closer to go with the opening sequence, I think that would be improved. Is there more? All right, there's a few. Okay, all right, we might be here for a second. All right, but these aren't. I don't believe that's his. That's cool. You already know what I feel about it finishing face up. And it is finishing face up. Like, it's so easy as a cardist just to like feel like that's a natural motion. I don't know. I won't say too much more because I just made that clip from yesterday's video, and I got some pushback from some people in the DMs. Not harsh. They just like felt like it was a rule they didn't really want to follow. So over time, I think I'll continue to talk about that and why I think it's a failure to resolve a cut face up and then turn it all over, or just maybe just explain more why I don't like it. It's just a rule I have. It's not a rule you have to follow. I can't make rules for you. That's not how this works. So, but I'm going to continue to note that every time I see it, because I hope people will recognize, like, oh, that's happening a lot. It's very common for cuts to end face up and then turn it all over. So if anything, I just want to bring attention to it. Can we watch that one again? Alright, we only get to watch it once, sorry. Gotta move on though. Back to this cut, we talked about all that. Not good so far, that's a joke. Maybe that was the last one. I like this. Again, a lot of dancing and a lot of camera movement, so that's the most obvious thing that could be fixed. Sorry. That's the most obvious thing that I think could help improve this cut. I'm trying to be diplomatic. I may have missed one by moving on, but it's late. Yeah, honestly, I can't analyze that move because you can't see what's happening. Too much camera motion, way out of frame in this take, so I won't spend time on that one. Tragedy. Move on. Let's watch this again. I like the pause. I like the stoic pause. Just process. Hey, they dropped, dude. Move on. Keep going. I think that's cool. It's the correct response. So I will say this about dropping cards. This might be an interesting point. You might be interested in this. If you're a cardist, I bet you are. Let's get back to it. So when you drop cards, when you're making a move or you're practicing a move, in those instances, when you're practicing or when you're making a move, it is not, especially when you drop cards like this, like the packet was just too big, didn't quite have the space on the pads of the fingers to make sure those cards stay there and they slip out. That's actually something you can learn from straight away, and it's not something you need to even address or try to fix right away. Leave those cards on the ground and keep practicing the move with fewer cards. Now, if that gets too egregious, it's not going to work. Like if you're trying to do a 7-packet cut with 15 cards, maybe I would have some problem with that. But in this kind of instance, you can lose a couple of cards. And so, like, what's nice about it is that it's the move itself telling you how it wants to be done. You know, the move saying, too many packets here. So I bet if he did this move again right away, those cards aren't going to drop. So it's really like I've just found, because like anyone, when you're first like handling cards, the most obvious thing that's a failure is that you drop the cards. That's how you start. Drop the cards, you fail. But as you get further and further into cardistry, you'll find that when you're creating a move or when you're practicing a move, cards dropping actually give you information. And they're saying, so like this. So the reason you drop the cards is because you are holding too many. That's all. You were doing it with too many. Not always. If you just drop the whole packet because like the whole thing slipped out, okay, not good. But when some feathering happens and a couple of cards fall out, but you're still like in the grip and you're still in the move, do exactly what he's doing in this move. Just move on. and do the move again. Don't pick up the cards yet. Just move on and continue practicing that move with the amount of cards that the move is telling you it needs. I don't think there's anything wrong with using a particular amount of cards for a move. Like if 45 cards is what you need in order to do a move or to do a cut, because those extra few cards make a particular packet too big or you can't spread them out between stuff, that's totally fine. There's no problem with that, I don't think. So I really like seeing this. I really like the attitude of like, should I keep going? Yeah, I'll just keep going. You know, I think that's the right attitude. What do I think of the cut as a whole? So again, very hard to analyze and to see when the cut goes out of frame and the camera's zooming around. Now, what's cool about the camera moving is it tells us that you have a buddy. And I'm glad you got a buddy who's going to sit there and deal with you trying to, let me try again, let me try again, let me try again. That's nice. So, like, it doesn't upset me that it's being filmed handheld. But, like, this unintentional iteration, like, that camera movement stuff got popular from guys who were actually utilizing it. They were like aiding and getting the angles perfect. And I kind of liked that at first, but eventually I just find it very tiresome. If I was standing here, I would not be going like this. And I want to know what the move looks like when you do it, not when I help you do it by giving you the good angle. So there's enough floating and things are going out. I don't really know how to analyze any of that. Because the things that I come up with to criticize may not even really be relevant. A better take of that one. That's a better take. We're still a quieter body, but we're still swaying. Some people won't like that I'm criticizing the sway thing because sometimes it gets used. It's like a performative, it's a performative tool sometimes to like turn your body and show over here, show over there. So some people might not like that, but we're not dancers, right? We dance with cards. We make the cards dance. We don't need to dance. Yeah. We don't need to be moving. We want to see the motion of the cards. That's what we're here for. And staying still also like gives a sense of control and calmness and assurance. It's a very strong move to take, to have good posture, staying nice and quiet so that all of the motion that you're asking the audience to look at is contained within this kind of zone around the hands. So something to think about, maybe something to consider. But this is the best take of this move. Couple of takes. I don't think that repeated. No. Yeah, so like as he's doing this move and he's developing more and more touch for the move, the body's getting quieter and the packets are getting cleaner. So that's a clear sign of improvement. If I go back, will it play? I don't want to go through the whole thing again. Nothing really stood out there for me. Again, a lot of body movement, a lot of camera movement. There were a couple of different cuts. I can't go back and play it right now. There was one moment, I believe, what was it that was happening? It was like two packets kind of got were a mechanic was executed with two packets kind of overlapping a little bit. I can't right away remember exactly what that was, but I liked that moment. I think it was like the third cut or something. So like that. Sideways anaconda. Now, how do you do a sideways? How? What about gravity? Not funny, Chase. Not funny. Okay. Okay. Was that this one? Yes. Okay. No. It was this one. We are here. Cool resolution, or at least a cool closer, a nice independent closer. I don't know where I'm clicking. So another thing that this is general advice. Another thing that I think is worth keeping in mind is the premise of setting up a landing zone or a packet that to like identify where something can go, identify another packet that could go there, and then giving that moment. That's worth looking out for, and that happens in this cut with the closer. So this is a pretty cool closer. All that's it's just okay. It's just okay. But this like establishing that things go here by putting this packet down on top and then giving this moment of anticipation where this packet's kind of, now we kind of read this as a packet with potential energy, and then tossing that over. Cool. That is cool. So like the whole, because that closer is so strong and because it's so distinct, I'll say again that and this is why I avoid big moments at the end of my cuts. I anticipate that I'll never break this rule for myself. I don't think you want the last moment to be stronger than the middle of the moment. I think the main moment should be in the middle. I think the main moment should happen towards the middle of the cut. And that's because when it happens at the end, it feels like the entire move was a setup for that. And if there's a lot of things happening before it, it feels more like you just kind of meandered your way into getting to that moment. And that can be kind of a curse because having a really strong and distinct closer like this can kind of hurt the stuff that came before. So that move's so strong, you could probably find another way to get to that moment and still keep all of this other stuff, keep this cut, but just separate them. That's what I would do. But like finding another way to get to this exact position quickly, get to this moment some other way, still let this fall to here because I think that's important for this closer really selling, that we establish things go here. Packets come to here. Doink. So that's nice. We're seeing some good moments here. We're seeing some cool stuff. My eyes jumped away. Let me watch again. So it's a long cut, and there's plenty of stuff in there that's worthwhile, and it's not ugly. Again, I don't care for the floating. Again, I don't care for the camera movement. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is what I'll point out. The beats in this move are slightly off, and the most distinct part of the move that's off, I will point out to you. It's that. Let me go back so I can stop earlier. So all of this is connected, we're flowing, and then this, from here to there, is like its own moment. We give it its own beat. And it's not necessary as far as I can tell by the mechanics. I think it's more of a result of this extra energy in the body causing that kind of thing to happen. So let me try to see that as we watch through it. So I won't pause it, but I'll lift a finger from, see how it it's kind of an unnecessary, very short line of sight movement. Or that, and it's because this is coming down. So we're separating things and beats that mechanically don't need to be. This hand should just keep coming down. The next action from this, the next intentional action that we see should be this hand coming forward. But we get like this little hop instead, and then we go grab it. Let's just go down there and get it. And that cuts out a beat. And I think that will help this move not feel like it's quite as long, and it'll be smoother. If done right, it'll be even smoother. That's cool. I'm okay with that little turn all the way over. And again, I really like that we didn't give up on the closer. We're still looking for interesting relationships towards the end. We're not like, some cardists would get to this spinning moment. They'd get to something like this and be like, okay, done, and immediately start looking for the closer. But you don't, and that's good. We find all this other stuff still going, keeping this alive. Nothing's, we've only collected one packet. Finding another relationship back there. So, like, even just coming to that position is good packet cutter decision making. To let us really see this relationship is good. And this is kind of like a common thing. My guess is that he's seen this kind of relationship before and liked it and decided to use it. But that's not the important part. What's important is deciding to like establish this shape, letting us see it. So like was I'm gonna get so good about talking about cardistry doing this. I'm gonna get so good at doing this. Eventually, just like going through like this many cuts and stuff, and I'm trying to find new stuff to say, and I want to say it all pretty. I want you to think this is a good video. I want you to think I'm good at it. So when I'm pausing and just waiting, I'm just trying to give myself space to say something worth saying. But I'll just repeat myself. This is nice that we showed this. We didn't start to close too soon. And we're even finding stuff towards the very end. Very cool. It's kind of a low note for me. It's again a moment where something interesting happens and we instantly start to put it down. But it is an interesting relationship that we get right. It's like, oh, that's okay. I understand this relationship. I'm not, for me, the cut kind of gets cut off, but I wasn't super interested in what was happening before, so I'm not devastated by that. And this is kind of neat to do that, to pinch. The packet goes together well, it's clean. And then some resorting back to some comfort here, getting into like something very easy and familiar. So that's okay. Let me watch again. Maybe I'll say something brilliant. So when I'm making cuts, I'm trying to, like when I'm talking about these lines of sight and how long the motions are, I want the motions to all be relatively even. And here, like in the middle, we're kind of getting like shorter ones. So this is long motions. And before, so like long motion, short, short. Can you see what I'm saying there? So like we get this big motion. So like if I had done this and I found these relationships and we're doing this, that's what I would be focused on. I would be focused on finding other moments that have this same distance of travel. But there, see, like we kind of have to push something here. We get that long travel again, but then a short one as we're dropping this one. So that kind of feels like two. It's like 1, 2. So that's what I got to say about that. That move was all right. No, I can't. I don't really like that. In this instance, I just don't care. Like, a big part of it for me is all of the swaying and the camera movement, maybe, but This is cool. This is cool that like pinching off and re-gripping and grabbing the bottom one. That's interesting. I can understand being attracted to that. Here, I don't think there's enough distance between these two packets to really sell that you're squaring that with this packet, which I think, like in a sense of storytelling, I think that is kind of what you want somebody to notice, that this packet here is what caused these two packets to come together. I don't know that those packets could be further apart initially. They probably can't be. But for that reason, I think it doesn't really add much to get to such a squared spot there. And there, some packet management would help towards the end. All right. Let's watch again before I just say things. Let's watch again. Okay, what's nice here is that the main moment is fitted into the cut in a good spot, timing-wise, which is that turning everything over. That's okay. I don't know really how to discuss that without ripping things apart too much. Like the fact that we have to... so like we get here, all that's connected, but it's part of the setup, so that's fine. We're going to split this one. But then like there's this little regrip that happens to cause... I'm not sure what that achieved actually. I guess it allowed this one to fall. It's not ugly. In this moment I don't want to spend too much time talking about that, but visually it kind of gets muddled when that kind of thing happens, and it's the kind of thing that I think the best cardists in the world avoid doing. But it does allow for a lot of motion here, so that's cool. I love this opening, a present kind of thing. I like this, that this is clipped, so it really felt like a lot traveled, like a big chunk of the move traveled on that arc. You know, let's just do something. Let's just do. I know everybody disagrees with me. I know everybody thinks messy packets are cool, but no, they're not. Let's just clean that up. Let's just spend the hours getting the take of the move. And spending that much time, the time that's required to get the magic take, the perfect take, the take that makes the move look even better than it actually is, that takes hours, honestly. Most of the time, it takes a long time to really get it, unless you've like already drilled it. But even when you're familiar with a move, as you get further and further into it, like your back should be sore. Your back should be sore. Your neck maybe feel weird. Tendons in your hands getting stressed. It takes a long time to do that. So I understand if somebody's filming for you, you're never going to come up with that idea. You're never going to think that like small little details are a problem. But for me, they are. But good motion coming over with that clip thing. Reversing that and getting a moment. Cool. Something tumbles. So even though only one packet fell there, there's only like one moment of independent action, and everything else is, what I mean is that everything else is well gripped, but we have like a free falling packet there. Even though there's only one, we're within theme, so it's still good, and the structure is still interesting. That moment looks awesome. Cool, dude. That moment looks very cool. I mean, and we get it down to somewhere like where it really arrives there. Everything comes square and flush. We really found out how to do that. The spacing was good. We started to do something interesting for the closer. Didn't really happen. Can I suggest anything? Let's look through this cut for other relationships between cards that we could revisit in the last moment of this cut. Maybe there's something obvious. Maybe there's not. Let's see, though. I'm trying to memorize this shape. So we have a thumb clip, packet, biddles on the short ends, and dealer's grip. Or long end. Yeah, short ends, dealer's grip. Like, I think if we arrived here, here's the first thing that comes to mind. I think you get to here and everything gets this square. I think you continue to do that. But then maybe we just let this packet fall on top and this packet gets separated again. So like we're twisted back here. So maybe this packet falls over and then this packet can swing back up on that same arc that we were creating before. And now since it's just one packet, it's going to be smaller. And that's fine because it's at the closer. So like things are getting, necessarily for a closer, things come together so things get smaller. But maybe we can, instead of like re-gripping to over here, and it is, it's neat that that structure stays together with one hand. But I think it would do us good to instead let that thing fall, instead of bringing this one up and making space for this one to come back here, because mechanically that last little bit, it's not that interesting of a mechanic. So one more time. We got time. What am I trying to? What am I going to go to sleep? No. We got time. Let's watch this. See, like, boom, come back. It goes that big arc down, a little arc back. Boom, boom. This kind of thing. And maybe that could happen by this packet just falling, this one staying in that grip and like turning back up. Not holding it, so maybe what I'm saying is nonsense. But I'm pretty familiar with packet cutting and getting into these kinds of positions. I think you could probably do that. If that closer stayed within that arc that gets established throughout that cut, I think the cut would get even better. This is probably my favorite one so far. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Okay. Kind of hidden, but that's kind of cool. So, opener there, not too much to analyze. It's fine. The opener becomes even better because we get this moment out of it. So now all that feels justified. I think this is a cool shape, kind of reworking. If somebody made a display like this without making a cut and just tried to hold the cards in like a display, you wouldn't arrive at this. Most people would end up mirroring these two packets on this end. So I think it's cool that they're not mirrored, but they kind of give the same impression. So there's two packets like in this relationship where they're flat and overlapping. And then we have this relationship where they're only connected on the short edge and they're not laying flat. It's kind of opened up a bit. So the difference between this and this. But here that pairs well, and this moment looks nice. comes all the way over. We don't come back on that arc. It kind of comes way down here, and then we come like halfway. And that causes us to have another little short moment again. So again, it's like opener, big moment that looks great, and then kind of a short moment. So let's get those lines closer. I don't know. I hope that makes sense to you. And this is going to be fine. You know what I have to say about this. You know I don't want that. But we do keep, again, what I'm finding in this account, what's really good, what tells me that this guy wants to be a great packet cutter, is that he's smart enough to not give up too easy and to keep on looking for interesting things as we go. So like visual, exciting, interesting things continue to happen all the way to the end. Things don't get just really simple and die out. We're looking for new things. We're looking for interesting relationships. And that's a very good sign. Great. A little short. But there's some pairing of motion in those last things. So like big, little hop. That little moment of turning that one card over, it's kind of mirrored again in this packet. You know, it happens in two different mechanics in two different spots. But they feel like sister movements, that you've established that that's allowed to happen in this cut. So the closer feels closer to something that the closer feels like it's reasonable, that it's like it's not out of nowhere. It doesn't totally change themes completely. The cut is still alive through these in these moves that we're seeing. The energy is staying there throughout the cut. So the things that I'm disagreeing with, I'm happy to disagree with them because I think they're things that can just straight away make things better. And you clearly already have insight and your own vision. Maybe I shouldn't say own vision because I'm seeing influence in these cuts. I don't mean to take away independence by saying that. I just mean that I can see influence of like what's acceptable and what looks good. But this is clearly somebody who's studied stuff and as far as watched a lot of cardistry and enjoyed cardistry. That's obvious. If you watch it one more time, maybe I don't stop in the middle. Was it stopped in the middle? I don't know. But this is worth seeing. All that first thing is so cool. All right. All right, well, this is the one that I was maybe most curious about. So let's see how cool this ends up being. Yeah. Yeah, see, just like that's good. That's good, honestly. It's not the kind of thing that I would make. And maybe that's helping me like it because it's different. But like I like that we're going to like we create this bevel and then actually use it. So like because he has this bevel, it's much easier for this card to slip over this edge because there's not a flat edge here for it to go to. That kind of creates a very thin point that this packet has to come over. So get a nice firm grip on it. I like the bend on both sides mirroring that single card. So cool moment. I think that's interesting. And it wouldn't be, and in my mind, it would not be interesting if these weren't bent. If we didn't have that little subtlety mirrored on both sides, we would just have a W. But here, we keep that tension on it, and I think that's a good decision. All right, one more time. And didn't do too much. We're not doing too much. Some people, as I'm talking and saying all this stuff, it might sound like I'm contradicting myself sometimes, because sometimes I'm saying it's good that you didn't do too much, and sometimes I'm saying you needed to do more. And I hope it's obvious in each instance of those that the context matters for when something like that happens. And this one, that moment is so strong, it's so well defined, similar to the way a triangle has so much definition and clarity that it kind of takes over the whole move. This move is very distinct and strong. So it's good that we didn't twist all the cards around a bunch of times and set this up to try to show this. And it's good that we got to this and then didn't try to do a bunch of packet cutting. We just let this speak for itself. We just showed this moment. Small little setup. Execute a big display. Interesting shape. I like the way the thumbs look. I like this card hanging off of this one with tension. Unless that one was kind of pinched. That may have been kind of pinched back there. Doesn't matter though. I like that one. I'm glad that one delivered. I'm glad that one delivered. Is that Patrick's? No, it's not Patrick's. It's Is it? Why do I feel like it's not his? Maybe tell us. Oh yeah, Carter. There you go. That's why I thought it was Patrick, because it was Carter. Carter. From what I understand, Carter likes Patrick's Cardistry. And so they kind of have similar, there's aspects of their material that are very similar. But yeah, that's a Carter move there. So maybe, all right, we won't skip over it though. Let's just think about the performance of it. Good performance. Let's watch again, because maybe this is very nitpicky, okay? I understand. But that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to get into detailed stuff here. That arc that we make, folding it back. I think this moment needs, in how I remember Carter's anyways, is that this moment goes a little bit further back than it does. This is going to travel down a little bit, but before it arrives at all the way folded in, this packet's going to start moving over and swinging over this way. And I think this packet needs to get deeper. So instead of getting to just here and then turning over, let it get back here and then turn over. But maybe that's not how Carter did it the first time. And maybe you're mimicking imperfect, and that has value in its own right. But I bet it feels cool. Don't you love that big action that you get? And then a couple of tosses. All right. Neato. I'm really enjoying these videos, kind of just putting a part of the day to watch Cardistry. I haven't been doing that the past few years. I mean, I've seen some. I haven't been nearly as absent as maybe everyone feels like I've been absent. But I think these videos are good for me. And I hope my analysis improves and that I just get clearer and clearer with my thinking and explaining my thoughts. So, the big moment. The big moment. Well, first, before the big moment, because we still have to decide whether we're going to give this fella a follow. We're going to have to make that decision here. But before we do that, let me choose what my favorite one was between this one that we just watched, this Z shape, because I have the least criticism of this one, so it's way up there. I appreciate that moment was allowed to just sell itself. And then the other one was this one, I believe. Maybe not. What one? Oh, what was it? Well, I'm going to have to watch because I don't want to get it wrong. No, it wasn't that one. Yes. Because of this action right there, that's a contender for best one. And then this one. This has this moment at the end is very strong. Gotta think. I shouldn't put so much pressure on myself. But what do I think? Let me watch this one again. Some of you are going to hate that I like that one. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm going to call this one my favorite one. Give that the like. I think with a couple of things changed that I don't think would be hard fixes, this one is the best. This is in a very close second because there's nothing much to criticize. You either like this or you don't like this. And there's kind of nothing else to analyze. And I think that's very good in cardistry. Not doing more than you have to do. And this isn't doing more than he has to do. And it's clear. And I like these bows. So maybe we sneak another one in there. Okay, so we decide. No stalling here, Chase. We got to make a decision. Do we give this fella the follow? Well, yes, of course we do, because we saw a bunch of good stuff. Things that we really like. We improved from the bottom to the top. And even the cut that we started off with, we saw some other cuts. Some other takes of that same cut, and we saw that improvement. So I have reason to believe that even better cardistry is going to come out of this account. And I want to see it. So we'll give him the follow. Exciting stuff. Okay. Well done to you. Way to sit through this. Way to stick with me. Well done. You must love cardistry. So you and I are brothers in cardistry. All right, that's it for now. I will see y'all later.